Okay. What I would really like to know, how did you decide you were going to go in the service?
I can't hear her.
Okay. How did you decide that you would go into the service?
I'm a little hard. You have to holler at me.
Okay. I'll get closer. It'll be all right. Let me back this up. This is fine. When did you decide and how did you decide you were going to go into the service?
Well, when the Second World War broke out, when you were 18 years old, you didn't decide.
Okay.
President Roosevelt decided for you.
Okay.
He sent me a letter that said greetings.
Okay. Greetings.
And of course, I had to register for the draft. They had a draft. After, like the week after I was 18, I registered for the draft. Well, I was born on February the 3rd. March the 22nd, I was in Fort Dix.
My goodness.
In uniform.
That's what I was going to ask you. Where did you go? So you went to Fort Dix.
So, well, you report to the draft board in Ocean City, and the bus picks you up and takes you to Fort Dix. Now, they process us for 3 days, and then they put us on a train, and they sent us down to Camp Gordon, Georgia, which is Fort Jordan now. Put me in Company A, 293rd Combat Engineers Battalion. We went through our basic training down there. We used a lot of explosives. That's what combat engineers use, a lot of TNT and dynamite and all that kind of stuff. We make charges, special charges, waterproof and all that. Well, we went on maneuvers in Tennessee, and then we went from there. They shipped us out to Camp Pilot Knob in Arizona. That's just over the border from Arizona and from Yuma into California on the desert. And we went on maneuvers out there, and we had more training in high explosives and transition training. That's crawling under the machine gun fire and training and all that kind of stuff to keep you from panicking. And then one day, the captain had a formation, and he said, "We are no longer with 293rd Combat Engineers." He says, "We are the 406th Combat Engineer Company Special, 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. And we're going to be shipping back east and get ready for our new job."
Well, could we turn this down a little bit so I can, the TV, could we turn the TV down? Just turn it down.
Turn it off.
Turn it down. Well, I don't care. You just, so I can hear them. Thank you.
We came back to Tennessee. At Camp Forest, Tennessee is where we came to. And they had us cutting wood, making frames for like shaping the tanks and covering with canvas. Well, we never covered any with canvas, we just made the framework. And then all of a sudden one day that stopped because we got word that they have the tanks all made. They're inflatable. They were made in Scranton, Pennsylvania. So we didn't get to see any at that time. We finished our training down there, and we were told that this was all top secret. Some guys had to go home with furloughs that you're not allowed to talk about it to your folks at home or nobody. You want to tell them something else. Don't tell them what you're actually doing. So we finally got on a train and headed for New York. got on the ship. And it was at night, and by morning we were out on the ocean. Second day out to sea, we had contact with enemy submarines, and our submarine destroyers were rowed up and down in between the convoy. This convoy was one of the largest convoys that went across the ocean during the Second World War. They sank 2 submarines and damaged 1. And one of them that sank came up in front of us, about 500 yards or so in front of us. The conning tower and the bow came up, and then it went down. It sank. Well, we landed in Wellesbourne, England, around Mother's Day in 1944. And they put us in a camp, and of course we lived in tents, and we had outposts to guard. We didn't have no rubber tanks with us at this time. And we had training, we had film training, and they told us there was a signal company, a sonic company, a camouflage engineer company, and our company was the security for all this. And when we were on an operation, my operations, I was always with a sonic company that had big speakers. They had wire recordings of tank columns moving, and they would broadcast this, and you could hear it for miles. And our job was to guard that half-track and that crew. And that's all we ever saw during the whole war. Is in our squad. Different squads and different platoons some of them were near the actual rubber tanks and stuff like that. But once you got started, you stayed with that section. Well, they would broadcast that noise, and first thing you know, flares are coming up from the enemy. Just they wanted to see what's going on. They would light up the air. You could read a newspaper, just daylight. Well, when they open up, then you have to freeze. You don't dare move. And after a while, some artillery fire would come over. Luckily, it was over our heads and landed behind us. That's what we were supposed to do, draw this fire. They wanted to find out what was going on over there. That's one kind of operation. Now another one, when the Germans thought we were going to make an attack someplace, they would attack first to throw us off balance. So what our outfit did, we would go 25, 30 miles in another direction and put on a big show down there like we're going to make a big attack. And they would move those divisions over here where they figured we were going to come through. They would move them down there. In the meantime, real combat troops are coming up there to get ready to make the attack, and that's what they did. They would make the attack, and they're down there. That's why it was so successful. There was less fighting, and we saved a lot of lives that way. Well, to give you another instance, General Patton, he used to go pretty fast with his outfit. Excuse me. He had a reputation for that. Well, he went to the city of Metz in France. He conquered that. He drove the Germans right out. And now this was in the early part of December. And it was cold, bitter cold. Well, he was out of gas, they were out of ammunition, they were out of everything. And he notified headquarters. Now, all our orders came from General Eisenhower, the head commander, not some other group. They all came from top to top. Well, they sent us a signal to get up there and help him hold that until they could get reinforcements. Well, we did for 3 days. We held him there, and then the 38th Division moved in and relieved him. If we hadn't been there, he'd have been driven back out of there again. And that's the way it worked.
Wow.
It was all deception. Now, our first operation was at the city of Brest. That was a coastal city down south of where the invasion took place. They had submarine pens there and all that kind of stuff. So myself and 2 other men in the squad, they put us on an outpost up on a hill. And down below us, about 1,000 yards, there was a group. They had a mechanism that would fire, but it didn't fire any bullets. It just made a big flash, like a muzzle flash from an artillery gun. Because on the other side of the hill and back of us is where the artillery weapons were, and they were shooting regular. And these guys had a fire in conjunction with them. So they thought this is where the firing was going to draw. So we draw the fire again. That's how that works. Now, at the same time, they set up some rubber dummies, tanks, and they came around one morning and they said at 1 o'clock tomorrow they're going to start the attack on this side. Well, they did.
Excuse me. You ready?
Okay. You know, when they started the attack, they were hitting our tanks pretty hard, and they had every 88 millimeter gun that they had on that city lined up for this attack because they knew it was coming. Well, finally, our Air Force went over and took care of a lot of stuff, and they had to give up. And the head officer over there, he wanted to know where we got all them tanks. And they says, where'd you get all them 88s? But they saw all them tanks that had everything on there. And that shortened the battle up a lot because the Air Force come along and just wiped out. Now in the daytime, the British bombers dropped bombs on that city all day long. And the American bombers bombed it all night long. And there was always flares. You could read a newspaper any time of the night when that was going on. And now we let's see, on December the 5th, well, December the 1st, we were up in Belgium. We were checking crossroads for any military equipment coming through, because the German soldiers were coming through in American uniforms. That's what we were expecting. Well, we did that for about a week. And then one night, they loaded us up the truck, took us up. They said, we have a place up here. It's been quiet for a long time. We wouldn't know what's going on. Well, we came to a little town. The 4th Infantry Division was in there, and they've been on line since D-Day. And we went on up further, and here come one of our half-tracks up, and of course, me and 3 other guys went out to guard that, and that was where we started the Battle of the Bulge. We kept that operation going until midnight, and they called us in at 4 o'clock in the morning on December the 6th. That's when it started, and they really came through. It was a larger force than what the United States figured it was, but they stopped them at Bastogne. I think the 82nd Airborne had an act in that, and Patton's 10th Armored. We moved that 10th Armored Division up there, and we had to use the part of the 6th Armored Division. They would drop us off in an area. There would be maybe 5 or 6 of us, and we would have to set tents up in there. Each one of us has set up about 10 pup tents. Make it look like there was a battalion in there. There was only 5 or 6 guys. We even had a fake headquarters, and we had a 6th Armored real tank at the entrance. And people would see the headquarters, they'd see the real tank and all them tents. They figured that's where we were. Well, the 6th Armored Division was helping to move the 10th Armored Division by interweaving with their convoy, and then they would separate it at a secret spot. And how we found out that was successful, one of the guys had a radio, one of them little transistor radios, turned it on the next day and listened to Berlin Sally. She says, oh, we know where you went, 10th Armored. You went down to the such. And that's where the 6th Armored went. But that's how we knew it. A lot of it was successful. We'd listen to Berlin Sally. And, well, it was just a deception outfit, and it worked.
Absolutely, it worked.
It's, no, I got a copy of the act that Congress passed our Congressional Medal, and the President signed it, and they're going to put it in a museum, and they're going to strike bronze ones, I guess, to give out to if anybody wants to buy them, any, like people that have deceased veterans, they could probably buy them if they want to.
Nice.
But that's about what it consisted of.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you're getting the recognition that you deserve.
Now, the signal outfit, they would give false signals now of divisions moving. And we would make convoys up of those divisions. We'd paint their identification mark on our vehicles. They had stencils they used to do that with. Put the number of the unit and all that stuff on there. And if you went to town and went into a bar room, First thing you know, a civilian are going to come up there and want to talk to you and buy you a beer. Well, you knew he's probably a spy, so you tell him a fairy tale about what you're doing and where you're going and all that stuff.
Wow, you really had it figured out.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way that went. You give them a lot of false information,
Good for you.
and well, that's what everybody did. Now, they would have our trucks drive through a little village town with two guys sitting in the back, one on each side, looked like a truckload of GIs going down there, and they'd have 5 or 6 trucks, and you'd see somebody come out with a camera and take a picture of it to get the identification numbers off of it, and that's the way that worked. We were full of all kind of false information.
It's amazing.
And if we went on you had to go to town. Usually you had to have a pass. We didn't get passes in our outfit. If the MP stopped you and asked you for a pass, we had to tell them to call our code name was Barney White. They would call wherever they had to call and ask about Barney White. They just come back and say sorry. See you later. Because we had a high priority on everything.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
That's really something.
That's pretty much how it worked.
Okay.
And,
Okay, if you want to show me your paper that